All right, it's 5 o'clock. Let's go ahead and call this Parks and Public Works Committee meeting to order. City Clerk Dean, if you'll take roll and just make a note of it, and let's move right into agenda approval.
So, second.
All right, agenda is approved, and public comment does not appear to be as hopping as yesterday's public safety meeting. So we will go ahead and close public comment. If anybody comes in, we can open it back up. But let's move on to approval of the minutes, the ponderous minutes.
Yeah, I have a question on page 2.
Yeah. Everything on page 2 is totally stipulated. We're accepting it.
Oh, okay.
Agenda approval, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we're approved, and let's move on to,
Was that the minutes were approved?
next thing is, what's that?
Was that minutes approval?
Yeah.
That was minutes approval. We approved it. And that takes us to our first discussion. First discussion topic is the reclaimed water distribution system improvements. And I believe Andrew Vining is going to tell us about that. I'm just taking a shot in the dark though.
Yep. Good afternoon. It's been a little while. It's been construction season, so we've been busy out on construction sites, but I'm here to give an update on what we've been up to. So I'm going to start with the reclaimed water distribution system improvements, which is currently underway at the site on Ridge Street and Eagle Lake Drive.
The flickers have moved out.
Yes, and I'll be providing an update on that as well as other tasks completed. So
Flickr update. All right.
just a quick recap. This project's we've come a long way since summer 2023. That was when we completed a draft engineering report and a siting study. We evaluated 6 different sites along the BPA power road there, as well as adjacent to Eagle Lake. That engineering report is now final and approved by Ecology. We completed the plans and specifications, acquired the land for the improvements at Eagle Lake Drive and Ridge Street. We also received $8.6 million in Ecology funding. That's been unofficially increased to 9.1 million. Still some paperwork to process for that, but that funding is underway, and we're submitting reimbursement requests for that. And this summer, early June, we had a contractor, Prospect Construction, mobilized to the site, and they've presented us with their schedule and submittals, and things are moving along. And we are on track to be completing construction prior to June 30th, 2026. Following that, we'll be doing startup and commissioning of the new improvements. So here are the improvements underway. We have a 470,000 gallon reservoir that will be storing Class A reclaimed water, a new irrigation pump station that will connect to our existing distribution system. And these improvements will allow for continued use of Class A irrigation water and conservation of potable water in the city. So this photo is from earlier this week at the site. They have cleared where they need to clear on the site, and they're going to begin grading for the new reservoir later this week. They have a subcontractor that comes in to erect the reservoir, and they move pretty quickly starting in August. It's a concrete reservoir, so they'll be pouring, well, they'll pour a foundation, then they'll build the panels on site, lift them up, wrap them in rebar cables, and spray it all with concrete, and that's the reservoir. There's also been some utilities adjacent to the site. We need to be connecting. We have 3 utility connections along Ridge Street, as well as an extension of the existing Class A transmission main in the BPA easement. And they've begun extending that Class A main in the BPA easement. You can kind of see it here, but working in that easement is challenging. Those power lines are pretty low, so the contractors come in to actually bulldoze out their trench and make sure they keep clearance underneath the high voltage power. And as I know we've provided some updates, but following the mobilization in early June, we did encounter some bird nests on the site. And as part of the state funding, there's a number of environmental and cultural resource documents that we prepare. One of them is a migratory bird compliance plan. And as part of that, we did a bird survey in August of 2024. We did not see any nests at the site, and we had a plan in place, assuming there wouldn't be nests. We had to do an updated survey as part of that plan we did it in May prior to mobilization, and we did identify two nests on site, a crow's nest and this northern flicker nest. We quickly began conversations with Department of Fish and Wildlife, ecology's environmental group, and tried to determine, how to move the project forward while maintaining compliance with the Migratory Bird Act. And we had in place a 150-foot buffer, which is quite large. That's pretty much the whole site. We were able to work with Fish and Wildlife to narrow that down to a 50-foot buffer, which are those two red circles there. As you can see, it's kind of right around the purple reservoir there. So it was still a significant impact to being able to advance things on the site. But
why are there two circles?
there was a crow's nest as well, which,
Two nests.
We were gonna hold this project up for a crow?
well, the crows left prior to the flicker. They really didn't have an impact on it, but
Okay.
yeah.
Come on, baby bird.
So we've monitored the nests pretty much weekly until they fledged from the site, and we were in close communication with Fish and Wildlife, as I mentioned during this. We are anticipating some cost impacts from both from our consultant and from the contractor on site, because it delayed work progressing on site. However, we worked diligently with them to advance work adjacent to the site. So that's how we got them working in that BPA easement. We also tried to open things up along Ridge Street to allow.
You mentioned a migratory bird, migratory bird.
It's a migratory bird compliance plan that we have. That's part of our state environmental requirements for the loan SERP, and that ties into the I'm not the expert in this. It's the bald eagle and Migratory Bird Act.
See, if you had told me about a bald eagle, how much are these birds going to cost us? Do we have any idea?
We're working with the contractor to bring down their costs, but it's significant. So
Is there a number associated with significant that?
Or just 5 figures, 6 figures?
Yeah, they've proposed 6 figures. I think that under our contract, we can bring that down. I think it's limited on what they're able to ask for delays. We had multiple meetings with ecology and Fish and Wildlife, and Fish and Wildlife has offered to attend any meetings to help explain the regulations. We received letters from Fish and Wildlife on this, so it was pretty well documented throughout it.
And these are endangered woodpeckers and crows?
They're not endangered, but they are protected.
Okay.
That's my
The
understanding.
flicker, not the crow.
That the crow is federally regulated. But
It's a sovereign nation. unto its own.
Oh, my gosh.
My understanding is it's federal, but there's not a lot of, the feds don't really have much teeth in this game, so the fact that it was adjacent nest and it really didn't make a big impact, we put protection for both of them,
Argue crow, okay.
so. Um, I would be happy to queue up Fish and Wildlife if you think, because this was a learning experience for me as well. I think looking back, it goes back to our siting study, and if you can avoid a site that's covered in trees or has any kind of environmental risk with it, you can try and avoid these situations. Another way would be to try to remove these trees earlier in the season, but with our aggressive timeline, that really was not an option for us. But in the future, those are.
So is that what was it the issue that there was a time crunch, so we couldn't prepare in advance for this eventuality? And under normal circumstances, if we were planning to use a property, would we clear it a couple years earlier to make sure that something like this doesn't impact? Because it's these hidden costs that jump up, and I mean, $100,000 here, $50,000 there at a certain point, you're talking about real money.
But then it'd be a ground squirrel. So I mean,
I think.
the poop emoji happens.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to cast blame. I'm just saying, are there ways for us to avoid running into these kinds of issues? Obviously, this is the site that we were going to use, and you're saying if we had more time, we would have been able to clear the trees before the birds ever nested.
I think in general, if you're not on such an aggressive timeline, that can mitigate risk. We could have considered doing a stop work with the contractor, having them stand down. We really didn't want to do that when we have another deadline that's impending. And in this case, it takes time to acquire property as well. So we didn't really have the property fully acquired early enough.
But I guess what you're saying is, in general, if we can avoid having to do these sort of rushed timelines, then that can help us have more success in avoiding these kinds of expenses.
I think it can help in some ways. Moving quickly also saves, time is money in construction. So I wouldn't say that extending deadlines is necessarily good as well. It's good to have a
So
contractor.
if we
that
had
gets in there and is efficient.
extended this project out long enough to avoid running into woodpecker problems, the extension itself would also have brought with it some measure of expense.
Yes. Yeah.
But
All right, I'm going to stop complaining about it. Nah, I'll probably come back to
Well,
well,
I-
it is what it is. But guys, when was the last time we did a preparatory species survey of a site intended for construction?
It doesn't come up a lot.
Poop happens. Move on.
Yeah. There are additional environmental and cultural documents that we prepare when we have state funding, and this was one of them. So that's the reason for these additional surveys. But as of just over a week ago, all the birds have fledged, and the contractors, they're moving quick out there. So everyone's happy to see things moving along. So just to recap, I've gone over a lot of these items, but the highlights: we have a contractor who's mobilized. We've processed over 60 submittals. Equipment is on order, and even with this recent delay, the contractor still feels they can meet that June deadline. Some of the challenges: the site conditions, both with the BPA power lines as well as the bird nest, and then long lead electrical gear is coming up still. So we've got a transformer we're trying to get our hands on, and as well as some other electrical gear. But overall, it's going real well. We've got a sign out there. I posted it shortly after this, but we've got a QR code, and if people have questions, they can shoot that QR code. It'll take them to a city website that'll show, kind of give a summary quarterly updates of what's going on the project. And with that, over the next couple months, they're going to pause for the Boeing Classic. No construction activities will be happening then. I do anticipate bringing a change order to council in September related to the bird impacts. And then they'll be working mainly on that reservoir construction and utility connections along Ridge Street in fall. And with that, I can take any questions.
Are golfers an endangered species?
Is there some work they can do during the classic or is it, I mean, I get it about all the noise and stuff being close to the tees. But you know, golf is not a real sport.
This was,
Ooh.
I think that it's a big event and it's something we established early on with the golf course was that we would be pausing work. With all the traffic and activity around there, I don't know if the contractor would want to have normal operations.
But it's just like the Friday before and the weekend, so it's not a big
We've got 1 week that
one.
they're standing. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Any other questions on that one? Thank you. Now we're going to talk about the wastewater or WRF Phase 3 Kimball Creek Lift Station improvements.
Yes.
Is it the next one?
Yeah. This is the last phase of the WRF Phase 3 improvements. And that is happening at the Kimball Creek Lift Station, which is located at the bottom of Snoqualmie Parkway.
Been a lot of activity there lately.
Yep, the contractor mobilized in June. The reason we lump this in with the WRF Phase 3 project is that this lift station is the biggest one in the city and it feeds the treatment plant. So it actually impacts plant operations quite a bit. We were delayed a year due to acquiring electrical gear, but we're fully mobilized now. These improvements, it really is twofold. We're going to be replacing electrical gear that is over 25 years old and reaching the end of its life. And we're also going to pace flow into the treatment plant, which will improve the general operations and performance of the WRF.
Ooh.
This is one of the 3 pumps that's been on site for close to 30 years that they removed. It's 7 feet tall, 6,100 pounds. It's one of the challenges of maintaining this is when you have a pump that large, it's difficult to lift and move from the site.
It's a lift station, isn't it?
And the work they've been doing on site, a lot of it so far, they've been doing demolition in the pumping well there, the boat well. On the left was a few weeks ago, and then on the right is just this week. Removing the old concrete and putting a new rotation basin there on the right, which will house the new pump. One of the challenges we came across here that was not anticipated, we were expecting grout in the bottom of that wet well, and we found reinforced concrete, which really slowed down the demolition activity, added a couple weeks associated with that. But that work the demolition work is complete. Let's see, and then overall for this project, it's been going well now that we've got a contractor on site and the materials on hand. The electrical gear was inspected. That's the new panel there on the left. And starting next week, we'll be taking this lift station completely offline, which is a big deal. There's no power to the site, no communications. So the contractor has constructed a diesel bypass pumping system, which is on the bottom right. And that'll be providing sewer service while we replace the electrical gear. That we had some challenges getting the right equipment on site. I think we have a really good plan in the contract, but it took 2 iterations to get the right pumps out there. And as of today, it was pumping correctly. And we're going to be testing that out this week before we shut down power next week. So that's a nice milestone for us. And some of the other challenges with retrofit work, we've encountered some unknowns. So that reinforced concrete with rebar is one. The main electrical leads were modified and didn't quite extend to the new control panels. So we're going to have to replace those and with proper lengths so that that meets current code. And then we should be wrapping up construction in September on this one. I do anticipate a change order associated with those site conditions with the reinforced concrete and rebar, as well as some mechanical changes just with the new pumps. Some of these, yeah.
Who was the engineer on this?
This was RH2 Engineering. This is their third pump station.
Who was the original engineer and installation?
Original,
This came in as part of Ridge 2, didn't it? Or Ridge 1, right?
yeah, this would have been early on. KCM on the as-built.
And the rebar was not noted in the as-built?
It was buried in the as-built. It was, we were looking at mechanical sheets. If you go to the structural sheet, there's a reference to kind of a general reference to reinforcement on the cover sheet. So it was difficult to catch.
Piece, but whose responsibility was it to catch that? It wasn't the city's responsibility. That's why we have these engineering firms that we do.
We can, yeah. I mean, we do rely on our consultants to catch these things. It's a level of detail that, they missed in this case.
Okay, so when you come with a change order, I'm expecting to see some accountability on
Okay.
their part.
What's the markup on demolition like that?
Well, it's at that point you get into it, the time it takes. So they assumed a week. It's taken them 2 or 3 weeks. So
Right, but there's cost for that.
right,
and
yeah,
then
I
there's
would,
markup.
yeah.
Maybe there's somewhere in there that the adjustment can be made.
We'll be working with them on that. Yeah.
Because to Councilman Holloway's point, why not miss 1 or 2 of these on a project? It's gonna increase, there's gonna be a change order that'll increase and I'm not trying to ascribe nefarious intent to our contractors at all, but if there's a system in place where nefarious intent could be successful, then that's on us for allowing that to continue, right? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't,
So maybe if it's something like this that the contractor should have caught, maybe they don't profit off of it. We cover the cost of the problem, but maybe we're not gonna be having them profit off of that miss.
yeah, we will consider this when we review it. A lot of times it goes back to what's defined as contract documents. In this case, the as-built were not part of the contract documents. So they're going off the plans, but I think looking at it with our
So
consultant.
does that mean it's our mistake because we didn't provide those documents potentially?
So I'm gonna go back that we have put these firms as our engineering firms for water systems, sewer systems, whatever. Because of part of the justification is because they are familiar with the system, their past knowledge, they are the most qualified to do it. If they're doing misses like this, I have to bring that into question. Okay, so I want them held to a higher level of accountability if they're gonna maintain their status as the engineering firm for these things. Because we justify based on their knowledge, familiarity with the system. And if that proves to be an incorrect assumption, we need to make adjustments. That's underlying my grouse, that's my point, okay? We need to hold them accountable because we justify their place as the engineering firm based on their knowledge and experience with the system. Okay?
I think it's a really good point.
If that's not a proper justification, we need to relook at it.
Will you guys have that hard conversation, please?
You have a hand up.
We will, and you know, I think that we do take a hard look at our consultants. We're coming off of a very large WRF improvement that had very low change orders, and I think that the consultants' responsiveness to the project, as well as their foresight in planning that, helped manage some of those change orders. Keep those changes down on that project. Some of these things, they probably could have been caught ahead of time. I think that when you're doing a retrofit project, such as this lift station, these things do come up on retrofit projects, and we try to minimize them, but it's part of the projects.
Well, if you need a bad guy, I am absolutely fully okay with you using Brian.
Yeah.
Anything else on this one?
Wait, you gotta.
Yep.
How long's the bypass gonna be running?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're expecting 3 to 4 weeks. So the electrician will come in. That's why we pre-purchased that panel, got it all factory inspected. It's ready to go. They're gonna pull out the old one and put in the new panel, and then we'll have to test it, make sure it's operational. And then we'll be switching back over. So.
Will there be any effect on service or pressures or whatever with that
No,
bypass pump?
there'll be no effect on service. The contract will be responsible for operating it during that period. And as I mentioned, I think we have a good plan. There's a backup. So there's a diesel pump, and there's a backup diesel pump, and there's a call out in case anything doesn't operate as planned. And then they're going to demonstrate that for a week before we actually put it into full use. And we just began that today.
And how long does the test take to make sure that the equipment that we're putting in is functional?
Well, they will demonstrate it for a week.
For a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Technically it's 3 days, but it lands on a Friday, so it'll be a week.
Because I'll be calling you, Andrew, if my toilet doesn't flush.
I don't know. That might be a you problem.
You'll be in the clear. You're upstream of this. But yeah, we this is a smaller project than the reservoir project, but giving that bypass system proper attention is important to make sure we stay in compliance with our permits.
Yeah.
And we're giving it plenty of attention.
All right. Anything else? Anybody? All right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And according to my agenda, that takes us to director reports.
All right, good afternoon. Well, let's talk about staffing and projects. And for staffing, we are currently recruiting 2 new employees. One is our admin. We were essentially waiting for the utility rate study to be completed before we hired that admin. And so that has been now completed, and we are moving forward with the recruiting process. We're going to recruit internally first, and then we'll open it up to outside if we need to. And then we're also currently recruiting for a wastewater operator, and that's going very well. We've had I think we interviewed 10 people. It's kind of crazy, which is amazing considering a couple of years ago, we couldn't get anybody to apply for one of these jobs. So it's nice to actually have some options. And so we're taking a little bit different approach. We opened it all the way up. So we said from level 1s, 2s, and 3s, we're advertising for all of them to see what we can get. And we're going to try to get the best person we can find. Right. So if it's somebody with very little or no experience in wastewater operations, but they're a good employee, then we may opt for that over somebody with lots of experience, which we haven't got anybody with. We got one person who had some wastewater experience, but for the most part, it's a lot of people who don't have much experience. So, but that's okay. We can start them at level 1 and train them and, bring them along. And as long as we get a good employee, I'm all about getting the best employee we can get.
And who will be training this?
Our wastewater staff. So, we have good operators. And so primarily Tom Holmes is our wastewater superintendent, who knows wastewater very well. And he would probably take the lead on that, but there's also other folks there that are very knowledgeable about the various tasks that they will need to learn. It takes a while. I mean, they'll have to get a level 1 operator certificate. So they have to do this, they have to study and take a test. And then the way we've set up our program is that they can progress by continuing to get certifications and training. So, we find the right person, then that person's going to progress his way through the system and get trained and learn all he can. And so we'll find a good operator. I'm very confident with that. We've done good with this in the last 2 attempts, or the last 2 times where we've recruited for wastewater operations and with water operations staff. We're looking for the best quality individual. And what we have found in the past is that when we hire people that have, 20 years experience in the field, they may be somebody else's problem, frankly, right? They're leaving a job that they've been at for a while because, they weren't cutting it and they're looking for a fresh start. So we think we do better by basically finding the very best person that we can find and then training that person, and we get better results that way. So that's where we're at with staffing. Projects. You've heard the 2 wastewater projects that we've going on. Andrew's doing a great job managing those. I am pleased with the performance of those teams, both those teams. The RH2 is doing a good job. As Andrew mentioned, we had on the WRF phase 3 project, we were less than 2% in change orders. Frankly, I've never seen less than 2% change orders on a wastewater project. That's that good. I mean, they've done well. I don't know how we missed that one. I think it was obscure notes that they just missed. I'm not sure. We'll look into it though. And your message about making sure that they're accountable for that is a good one, and we'll definitely do that. With respect to the other projects that we were doing this summer, I'll give you, we have a lot, but I'm going to touch on the big ones. So River Trail, we got bids last week. We had a good bid. The low bid was below the engineer's estimate. And we normalized all the bids, and we think that these guys did their homework. They look like a good firm. We're checking references now. And we'll be bringing that forward here very soon.
Which project is this one for?
River Trail.
No, well, River Trail is going to be really long. Is there like
The first phase of it, so it goes basically from the railroad spur at Kimball Creek there where it crosses under 202, from there all the way into town to about the bowling alley. So, yeah, and it's not a huge project. It's $2 million, less than $2 million. But it'll be a nice one. It'll be impactful, and it'll actually be nice to activate that section of roadway, to get a trail in there. It'll be kind of a rehabilitation project for that portion of the roadway. It'll be nice. So we're looking forward to getting that one done. Well, we also have 2 railroad crossing projects. This is in tandem. We're helping out Richard, the Northwest Railroad Museum. So he applied for funding, or he wanted to apply for funding. He cannot apply for funding. Only he has to do it through an agency, so that would be us. So we're helping him get the the funding. We actually got some grant funding and we're putting together bid packages right now. He has, railroads are a little bit different. There's not like a lot of contractors that do that. There's a very small, narrow band of expertise in that field. And so it doesn't follow the normal procedures of contracting, but it's pretty close. And so we have selected contractors and we're doing the engineering and getting ready to get started on those two projects. Hopefully this summer. That's the plan. The plan is to get it done this summer. In tandem with that, there is a water line that we've done all the water lines in downtown, in town center. But there was one that we didn't get to, and it's the one that goes underneath the railroad tracks at King Street. So we're going to take care of that one at the same time when we do the tubs. We'll do that water line as well, since we're going to have that dug up. Otherwise, it becomes a rather expensive, pipe jack operation, which we don't want to do. So this is a good opportunity to take care of that job at the same time. Another project that we're going to get started on, Hinda's going to lead this one. It is our old library right over here. We want to do a planning session, essentially a whiteboard session. We want to get some stakeholders involved and try to get some ideas out there. And based on those ideas, kind of rank those, do some preliminary costing and try to narrow our options down on what it is we want to do. I think Mayor is trying currently to get a group of stakeholders together. And so we'll be probably doing that here in a month or so. We'll start those planning sessions. So that'll be an interesting project. There's a lot of various options that we can do there. The other one is ASR, the Aquifer Storage and Recovery Project, which we've talked about several times. So we could not get to pilot testing this spring as we had hoped to, because we are still waiting for Ecology to finish their review of our feasibility study. They gave us high marks. They love the feasibility study. They pretty much agree with all of the conclusions of our study. But they, being Ecology, ask a lot of questions, and partially because they've never done an aquifer storage and recovery project on the west side of this state. There's some folks with a lot of questions. So we are answering a lot of questions and doing a lot of work to get that addressed. Fortunately for us, they did give us over $500,000 to do this study. So even though they're spending a lot of that budget, they paid for it. So we'll play their game and we'll keep moving forward. I think it's going to be successful. I am feeling, after looking at the results of the feasibility study, I'm more convinced than ever that it's going to be successful, that we'll get a significant amount of additional water, increased water right, instantaneous right for our own consumption. Also, we have the GFC process of the utility rate study that Dylan is just starting to kick that off now, and that'll be going full speed here soon, and that'll be coming to you shortly to talk about the general facility charges and how those will be assessed. And finally, last but not least, 384th is complete, and we have a ribbon cutting ceremony on July 23rd.
It's coming up.
Which is coming right up. Yep, that's right.
Tomorrow.
2:00. Yeah, that's right. So hope to see you guys there. It's looking good. We did have one little snafu. The county allowed Puget Sound Energy to cut a window on our new pavement because the property transfer has not been completed. We did a transfer where we annexed that portion of the roadway. Well, it's still under the county's jurisdiction until all the paperwork is signed. So they did allow Puget Sound Energy to cut a window so they could pipe jack a gas line through there. So they'll get that fixed. It's not fixed yet. It'll be an eyesore.
PSE fix that?
Puget Sound Energy's contractor, which is, I'm not sure who it is, but I imagine
Gonna
it's
be a big
Patelco.
rectangle in the middle of the street that we're gonna
And
see
it's not too
forever.
big. It's not too bad. It's just they cold patched it and it looks terrible. And it looks, it's a little bit of a bump. But, the nice thing is that it'll sit that way for a couple of months and it'll get compacted. So at least when they go down, when they do the final patch on it, it'll be fully compacted. So it'll heal up pretty nice and it'll be all but invisible. Other than that, though, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, it's nice to have that sidewalk there and it is getting a lot of use. So that's been a successful project for us. So that's it.
Anything else? Thank you.
You bet.
And I think that brings us to the end of our agenda. I don't know what we do next. What do we do next?
Move to adjourn.
Ah, that sounds like a motion to me. I guess I'll second that.
All right, we are adjourned.